States in the process of reopening. Americans are being encouraged to keep social distancing, but a group of scientists warning tonight that 6 feet of distance may not be enough to prevent the spread of the virus. A lot to discuss now with Joe Allen, Harvard's assistant professor of exposure assessment science. He is the author of Healthy Buildings. Joe, good to see you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. You're back, Tom.
So there's so much attention on coronavirus being spread through large droplets from coughing or sneezing, but you say it would be a mistake to ignore the possibility of airborne transmission. We talked about that before, but now there's even more evidence of it, right? Explain what that means and why folks should pay attention to that.
Yeah, look, I really don't understand the reluctance on the part of CDC or WHO to recognize that airborne transmission is happening. There are 3 modes of transmission: large droplet, fomite, or contaminated surfaces, and airborne. I've been on record since early February saying that airborne transmission is happening. There are telltale signs that this is happening. People in my field have been saying it. I put out an op-ed yesterday talking about the risks of airborne transmission, and there was a new paper in Science today talking about airborne transmission. So our community is trying to raise our voices, collective voices here, so that we can actually put in some of these control strategies to address airborne transmission. Look, I'll give you an example from that infamous choir practice and how we know this is happening and how we knew it early on. I've done forensic investigations of sick buildings for over a decade, and there were these telltale signs from that outbreak. 60 people, 52 people got sick, 2 died. They did a process of elimination, and you could say, well, was it fomites? Were they touching the same chairs? That's unlikely to get 50 people sick. What about large droplet? Well, maybe that could happen, and it would be the people around the people singing. You emit a lot of aerosols when you sing. Really, airborne best explains such a massive outbreak. And what caught my eye from having done these investigations was this little fact that was hidden in the investigation. The choir practice happened between 6:30 and 9 p.m. What happens in buildings at that hour? The ventilation system is shut down. So we see this all the time in buildings. The signs have all been there. Every piece of scientific evidence since February has supported this conclusion, yet CDC and WHO failed to recognize this.
Yeah. So this is new tonight. A group of experts writing in the journal Science say that there's increasing evidence that 6 feet of distance the WHO is recommending isn't enough under many indoor conditions. They say aerosols can remain airborne for hours, right? Especially when you're talking about singing, right? And you're pushing those things out. That they can accumulate over time and follow airflows over distances further than 6 feet. What should people at home take from this? It seems to be something: wear a mask, don't wear a mask, wear a mask. Oh, it's not airborne, it is airborne. 6 feet, no further than 6 feet. What should people think?
Yeah, I don't want to confuse that message too much. 6 feet should be the minimum, but really that's based on aerosol, large droplets that settle out. But the reality is, if we were sitting here talking face to face and I was coughing or even just singing to you, Don, or talking, I'm going to release a continuum of particles, some large ones and some that are small enough to stay, the small aerosols that stay aloft for many hours. And this is what we're talking about that's new. So still the distance and proximity is important. You will have a bigger dose if you're close to me, even from these aerosols, than if you were at the back or the far side of the room. What this means, though, we want to think about solutions here, and this really isn't rocket science, the solutions we put in place here. We want to bring in more fresh outdoor air to dilute the airborne contaminants, and anything that's recirculated in a building or your home or office or school needs to run through a high-efficiency filter. So actually the controls are quite simple, but the message just isn't reaching the public, and we've heard this 6 foot, which is good for large droplets, but we have to be aware that airborne transmission is happening too.
Joe